know you've been back in Australia for like a while now, but I never really asked you, like, what was it like going from Canada back to Australia? Did you notice anything like after being away for what, like it was at least a couple of years? Did you know when you went back, were you like, oh shit, I've totally forgot that this is a Australian thing? And also, did you have any Canadianisms that you're like, oh, I didn't realize I've started doing this?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was a bit of a transitional period coming back, especially being like at a home for 2 years and kind of living on my own terms, and then moving back in at home and going back to a job that I didn't necessarily enjoy, especially going from all my jobs in Canada, which I loved, and kind of had the
Living with me, obviously, as well was
100%, yeah, the full package.
Yeah, the full Canadian experience living with me, and yeah,
Yeah, living with a Scotsman
yeah,
in a town full of Australians.
yeah. No, that is the Canadian dream.
Yeah. So it was probably 6 to 8 months that I kind of like really struggled for a bit, trying to adjust back to just living back with my family and working a job that I didn't enjoy. And, but that's when I kind of decided that I would go all in with my photography stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably wouldn't have done that if I wasn't in such a difficult low spot of like, I don't know what to do with my life anymore. So that was kind of a blessing.
Yeah, weirdly, it's like you hit the rock bottom and it's almost like you don't have any other option than to pursue the thing. Or you think to yourself, I've got no other option here. I might as well do the thing that is going to make me happy.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It was like, well, I've got nothing to lose, so why not give it a shot?
Yeah.
And it's slowly starting to pay off, which is nice.
And did you find that, because I know when you were here, because your nickname back home is Flinny, and mine back home is Rico. But I think both of us lived in this weird bubble where neither of us, I mean, I know you guys would call me Rico and I would sometimes call you Flinny, but we lived in this weird bubble where it's actually kind of weird moving abroad and then you get this whole new identity kind of like put upon you, where everyone just calls you Jack and you're like, oh, well, I guess that is my name, but is it nice going back to Flinny and you're just like, yes, I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, like, I probably introduce myself more as Jack now, especially since like Japan and Canada. It's trying to be more neutral with everything and not trying to use as much slang and nicknames and because there's only a few cultures in the world that kind of understand it and get it all, and otherwise it just goes over people's heads.
Yeah, I think I had the same when before Canada, I went to Australia and I remember introducing myself to Rico as people, and I did it was noticeable how often people would be like, what? Because at that point I'd be like early to mid 20s, and I think you were like, you're a grown man calling yourself Rico. It's different if like like say I'm with your mates and I hear them call you it because they've known you forever and you kind of adopt the name. But when you're introducing yourself as Flinny or Rico, it's like, yeah, I think you get to a certain age, or I did anyway, where I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't, I need to call myself Richard, and if they pick up on a nickname,
100%.
So be it. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I know like so obviously I always want to chat to you about photography, but I've got like a couple of questions before that. So you left school and did construction management and mining, is that correct?
Yeah, not specifically in mining. Construction management's a pretty broad degree, which you can go into so many different jobs and industries afterwards. But then I did that and worked in the mines in Western Australia for 6 months, partly to get my hours to finish my degree, but it was paid, which was nice. But yeah, then just finished that and realised that it just wasn't for me.
Can I ask what made you in the first place choose construction?
I kind of, when I finished high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be, I wanted to have a mix of like indoors and outdoors work, somewhat hands-on, but also in sort of a role where you have more responsibility and you're earning a bit more money. And I had a couple of friends that were doing the same course. So I kind of weighed up my options and was like, this is probably the best bet. And I enjoyed it for the first couple of years. And then it sort of started to fade towards the end, and realized that I probably didn't want the lifestyle of like a 9 to 5, or, I mean, in that role, even longer hours, working in the construction industry, where it's, from my experience and from what I hear, is just, it's quite a brutal industry. We're just a bunch of grumpy old men yelling at each other to get shit done. And I know that's not the case for everything. But yeah, I just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, I remember I've done construction in Scotland, Australia, and Canada, and I agree with you. You can't like just broad stroke everywhere and everyone in an industry with the same stereotype. But dude, my experience was the same. Like it was just, it's like, it was brutal. Like yeah, and no matter what country I lived in, it was just shite. Like it was just like such hard labor, and you're right. Like everyone's fucking raging, and yeah, it just didn't seem
Yeah, I
the
think,
type. And that's what I was kind of wanting to ask you, because I've known you after that life, and I know what you're doing now. It just, I was like, I don't even know how you would have fallen into that.
um,
Did your mom and dad, like, were they kind of like pushing you a
no,
certain way, or not really?
really push me towards anything. They wanted me to go to university. They wanted me to keep studying. But they didn't really care what degree it was. It's more about, and I'm so glad that I have the degree. It's always something that I can fall back on, and I feel like getting a degree, no matter what it is, it shows that you can put in the work for 4 or 5 years and really knuckle down and nail those processes. So it's more than just what you learn in that degree. It's more about the way that you learn and the way that you retain all of this knowledge and apply it to the real world. So yeah, definitely no regrets on doing it.
Mm.
And it's kind of funny because it's somewhat stayed still within my life, even though I'm not necessarily using the degree, somewhat in my photography stuff, what I'm doing now. So,
And you mean as in like the kind of the life skills, if you will, that you learned from construction, you still have? Is that what you mean?
yeah, but also like one of the jobs I've been doing recently is creating 3D models of like buildings and houses and stuff like that. And part of it, although it's heavily on the photography side, if you have somewhat of a construction or building background, it's definitely beneficial.
And what's the 3D thing that you're doing then?
So it's for a company called 3D Walkabout, and they do 3D renders and AutoCAD stuff, floor plans, 3D walkthroughs. So if you want to see a house or a building before you purchase it or whatever, they can create a full 3D model, virtual model of the building, and you can just see it all online, really.
So what's your part in that then? Are you just like helping them with that software? Are you like
I go out to the buildings and take the camera out there, and so it's pretty straightforward. All I do is place the camera in a spot, press a button on an iPad, and it does a full 360.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then you move it like 5 meters, and you do another one, and it matches it up to that previous scan.
That's quite cool.
It is kind of cool. Yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's the most exciting work, but it's but it's interesting. You get to see some interesting places, and the final products look really cool. But then the imagery attaches a heap of information to it. So like wall heights and distances and thicknesses and then they can put that into AutoCAD software or building information modeling software, which is what I did throughout my degree. And then they go from there and they can use that for remodeling or refitting places, designing floor plans and giving all the information to the construction management team or project
Yeah, it's
manager.
funny. Like that to me, that actually sounds really cool. But I always remember when I was doing my engineering, and I would tell people, I'm like, yeah, we make like aircraft engine components. People always had the same reaction. They'd be like, "What? That sounds amazing!" But I'm like, it's not really. It's like the actual reality of like doing the thing. So for me, it was like going into a factory and hitting a button on a machine and making a part
Yeah,
was not in any way
it's
cool. So
quite mundane, but from
yeah, I
the
can imagine. Like, I think that the end product sounds really cool. But yeah, I can imagine just going into a building and then putting a camera and hitting a button and then moving 5 meters and hitting another button. You'd be like, sweet. So
yeah, it's
what is
it's all right.
this?
Yeah, to catch up on some podcasts and listens to some
Yeah.
music, and with the longer scans, I can still work while I'm doing it. I can still be on my phone and do stuff. So
Are you listening to that Hamish and Andy podcast?
yeah, still listen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen to your podcast every now and then.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's
Just
a few.
before you go to bed, put yourself to sleep.
Yeah.
What are the podcasts you listen to? I'm on
Uh,
like a mad like not self help, but like my podcasts all I follow like one Scottish football podcast, but then the rest of them all are kind of like I don't know,
yeah.
maybe
I
like
I've been listening to the Diary of a CEO a lot.
yeah, that's a good one.
I love that one. I don't listen to every single one of his episodes, but a fair few of them I find really interesting. The Imperfects, I still listen to that every now and then. Yeah, Hamish and Andy. There's a footy podcast I listen to that's quite funny, but the footy season's done now, so
Yeah. Yeah, the football podcast I listen to, I just, that's the one where, like, if I'm at the gym or if I'm doing something that, not to diminish it, but I'm like, if I don't really care what they're saying, I just want it in my ears, like background noise.
yeah.
That's the one I listen to. The Diary of a CEO, which I listen to, that's the one where, like, I need to be doing something where I can, like, concentrate on what they're saying. Because half the time, it's obviously interesting people that you're like, oh, yeah, I'm trying to, like, they were
Mm.
talking about finance or fucking communication or whatever it may be. And you're like, oh, you're trying to, like, pick it up, and doing like sets of bench press is not the ideal situation to like retain information in your mind.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But then, so jumping back, so you did the construction, working in the mines, and then what like spurred the move? I feel like I kind of half know the answer to this question, which is actually my next question. But what kind of spurred? Why Canada? Like, what made you decide to go to Canada?
I came to Canada when was that?
November 2020.
Nah, I came to Canada
Oh,
before that for a family holiday.
oh, okay, sorry. I
Yeah.
was thinking about when we were there.
I think I was 16. So when was that? That would have been 2012 maybe or 2013.
Did you come to Banff?
No, we went to Whistler.
Okay.
Um, and that's when I first picked up a snowboard and taught myself kind of how to turn. I can make it down the mountain, but I wouldn't. Now what I know, I wouldn't call that snowboarding. And fell in love with it, to be honest. And ever since then, it kind of had a spark. I was like, I want to go and work a season. I want to go on. I want to say, I want to experience what a winter season's like in another country. Because we have zero snow where I'm from here in Perth. So yeah, and then that was kind of where the spark started. And then when I was about halfway through my degree, and I had gone and got my IEC visa, or the international experience for Canada, but realised I should probably finish my degree before moving over there because I was worried that once I go to Canada, I probably wouldn't come back and finish my degree. So I decided to put that off for, what was that, year and a half, 2 years. And then COVID hit. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this anymore. And my visa was about to expire. Luckily they allowed me to extend it because of the situations during COVID.
Oh, did they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it actually did expire, and then they gave me a 90-day extension on it. And I used it on I think it was the last day that I possibly could.
Oh, that's mad.
Yeah. And then when COVID hit, it was kind of like the perfect excuse to just go and do it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I was, and this is kind of random, but I was just thinking when you said that, I was like, because I didn't know that. And this is going to sound maybe a bit, I don't know how this is going to sound, but when you said that day, I was like, mate, I wonder what my life would be like if you hadn't extended that visa. Not that it'd be, but I mean, like, we lived together for like a year and a half. I'm like, I wonder what that would have been. Like, it's funny how you don't, like, I didn't even know that, now looking back, I'm like, wow, like, that would be a totally different experience. My first year and a half here had been a totally different experience had they said no. And obviously you wouldn't have been here whatsoever. So did you not, so with COVID, so you were kind of maybe the same as me then, as in when COVID happened, you were like, this is the perfect opportunity to get out here as opposed to being like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was either that or forfeit the visa, and that at the time wasn't really an option in my mind. I was like, I'm just going to do it.
Is it quite easy for you to get a visa for Canada? Because in the UK, it's not. It's quite hard.
No, it is quite tricky.
Right, okay.
And with that visa, you only get one. There's no extension. There's no second application. So yeah, I was like, I don't want to forfeit this visa, and all the money that I've kind of paid for it. So yeah, I took the chance.
And I probably had a similar experience, and I wanted to ask you this question was, so you obviously put all this time and effort into construction. You decided that you obviously didn't, sounds like you didn't enjoy it near the end of it, and you decided you wanted to go to Canada. Did you have any, like, not anxiety, but did you have any nerves or uncertainty about the fact that you were like leaving what is like, you put all this time and effort into in construction and what from the outside looking in looks like a fairly stable career path to be like, cool, I'm just going to move country and become a snowboard instructor? Or were you like, nah, I'm 100% in this?
I mean, I think anything that sort of life changing is nerve wracking. But it was, in my mind, it was 10 times better than the alternative of going and getting a full-time job in the construction industry and just sort of following a path that socially is kind of just set out for us. Yeah, it was kind of the easy pathway of finishing degree, getting a job, working until you can afford a car and a house and a family and all that stuff. And that kind of life pathway scared me a little bit at the time.
Scared you, like, in what way?
Well, in the sense that if I don't take these chances when I'm young and I don't really have any responsibilities at the time. I don't have any kids. Didn't have a partner at the time. Didn't have any debt apart from my student debt. So I was like, this is the best chance and time to try these things, really.
Mm.
But yeah. But obviously COVID was a thing at the time. So I couldn't actually leave the country without getting a job offer or anything like that in Canada. And I knew that I wanted to work as an instructor. But to do that directly for a mountain straight away, you had to do it through like an internship or a program and that's where I came across Timberline.
Mm. So it sounds like you were the same as me, where you want to move to Canada, COVID happens, requirements change, you need to get a job, and then you looked into it and probably, I think if my memory serves me right, it was pretty much what the jobs we found were the only jobs you could actually get.
Yeah, to leave the
And the
country.
ski hill, sorry, is what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to
Only
work.
guaranteed.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't want to work in hospitality, and I didn't want to really work in construction, and I didn't. I knew I wanted to be on my board as much as I possibly could. And I was like, well, that the only job I can think of that does that is instructing. Yeah.
Yeah. And before you moved to Canada, did you feel like you were quite a good snowboarder, or did you? Because I was not, and maybe I'm still not good, that good of a snowboarder. But
Yeah.
for my own experience, like watching you and a bunch of other people when we were doing that program together, I was like, oh, these guys can definitely snowboard. Obviously, maybe need to learn the teaching aspect of it. But did you feel like you were a good snowboarder? Were you confident that you were a good snowboarder before you arrived, or did you find that the training actually did benefit, minus the teaching aspect of it? 'Cause I assume that would help.
Yeah, I mean, the training definitely helped me. I mean, teaching myself how to snowboard, and I'd never had a lesson. Um,
Oh, never.
Not until that point.
Oh,
I had,
wow. I didn't
I'd
know
had,
that.
I'd had ski lessons. Maybe I had one ski lesson as a kid. And then I just enjoyed kind of figuring it out myself. I enjoyed the process of getting up, doing two turns, eating shit, and getting back up again and going, well, that didn't work. Let's change it up. Um,
Yeah.
but doing it that way, you definitely develop some bad habits, which was hindering my progression. And you don't notice it until someone shows you a video of how you're riding or tells you this is what you should be feeling, not this. You should look like this, not this. And that training definitely kind of ripped my snowboarding to shreds and put it back together in a just in a better way. But once I sort of learnt those fundamentals, I just saw my progression just get better and better.
Hmm. Was there anything like specific that you feel you got better at? Like carving, maybe?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I'd say I probably couldn't really carve that well. I was kind of probably quite top heavy, as in like turning with my upper body and not my lower body, probably because I'm so tall. That I feel like when you're shorter in snowboarding, you can get away with some things. So when you're taller, it kind of just enhances your your negative qualities of snowboarding. It's just easier to sort of identify different body parts and stuff. Whereas,
Yeah, I assume there's also because there's physically more of you. So
yeah,
like, if I'm obviously way shorter than you. So if I'm like out of alignment, because I'm shorter, there's like less of my body that's in a wrong position. Whereas, I mean, I might be
yeah,
talking absolute nonsense here, but you're taller. So like physically more of you is out of center of gravity. I mean, that
yeah.
may be absolute fucking nonsense,
No,
but
it's spot on because that's a lot of the feedback that I got throughout the Timberline course.
yeah, mine was just my accent. They're like, just stop talking like that.
Yeah, stop mumbling.
Stop mumbling. Stop being Scottish. Also, get better at snowboarding. That was like
Yeah.
my general Timberland experience.
Damn, one piece of feedback at a time.
Yeah, no, no. How did you? I mean, I guess I didn't really ask you this either. Like, how did you find the teaching? Did you enjoy it, or because we were kind of teaching little kids at times, so it's about like day setting.
I mean, in that first season, I was just happy to be in Canada. It was just the whole experience was like quite overwhelming at the time. It was just felt like a dream. So you kind of not really fussed about the work you're doing because of the cool environment that you're in, and it's a new place. So everything's sort of it's just all kind of sparkles and everything's tied up in a nice little ribbon. But then you sort of you get into a routine and you're like, it's not exactly what I want to be doing, but it gives me the opportunity to be on my board. So I really had no complaints with the teaching. And in that first year, you're still, finding your feet and progressing your own snowboarding. So any time I had on the board, even teaching the basic lessons, like I always learned something from them. That's how I learnt to ride switch. If I had a lesson that they were riding goofy, I would just ride goofy the whole time, which was, it helped me progress my switch riding tenfold, really. I wouldn't have,
Yeah,
there's no way I would have done that if I wasn't somewhat forcing myself to learn with my students. Yeah, it was good.
yeah, I had the same with Cass. Cass is goofy, and she didn't snowboard at all when she first
Yeah.
came here, and I taught her. And it's that thing when we were doing specific things just at Sunshine, and I'd be like, I'll just do this in Goofy because obviously people are visual learners, and maybe I was like, oh, she's not getting it. And
Mm.
sometimes I would switch into Goofy, which obviously when you and I and other people who are regularly going to, or just anyone who goes into the opposite stance, it gives you that feeling of being a beginner again. And the reason that was good was because there was a couple of times where I was like, how can Cass not do this? And then
Mm.
I would go to my other stance, and I would be like, oh shit, this is how she feels.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of like, yeah, definitely, yeah, it kind of gives you that beginner feel again, which is kind of nice to be honest. Because I think, am I right in saying that what they say is your mistakes are the same no matter how good you get, your mistakes are always kind of the same. Like the things you're bad at when you begin, not necessarily bad at, but like yeah, if you're like a super shit hot snowboarder, like typically your mistakes are going to be the same. I don't know, I might be talking nonsense there. That was kind of making sense in my head before I said it out loud. Um, but I remember with the teaching, yeah, you always seem to be like just fucking absolutely buzzing. To be honest, mate.
Yeah, I
Whenever
loved
I
it.
was,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then it kind of progressed. It's like in that first year, you're the bottom of the totem pole. So you get all the beginner lessons and the little kids and the babysitting jobs and stuff like that. Some of the time you're not even skiing or snowboarding, you're just keeping the kids entertained. But then when you come back that second year, people obviously see that you want to be in this space and you want to progress in this career. So you start getting a bit more responsibility in the higher level lessons, which I loved that second year. Especially I have one Saturday program which was all kids between, what was that? I think it was 10 and 15. And there was 8 of them, and they can all just rip. Some of them were better at me at some parts of their snowboarding, and we would go and ride some steeper stuff in the morning and some bumps and work on some stuff, and then in the afternoon we would go and sit in the park and learn a couple of new tricks. Or there wasn't as much structure to the lesson, which was good in a way. I could teach the kids what they wanted to learn, and what they wanted to progress in, which made the lessons a whole lot more fun for both of us.
Mhm. And did you? So obviously that's not what you've continued on to do, because I feel like if my memory's correct, when you and I were probably kind of the same. I wasn't thinking about teaching, but we were both living together and like, oh, like both trying different things out at that time. And I think am I right in saying that you were kind of like maybe I like staying teaching, and then obviously you haven't done that. Like, is there a reason that you decided not to do that, or
Um, I throughout
you
those
just
two,
tried it and it just didn't work? Sorry.
well, I actually really enjoyed it. I
Uh-huh.
after Canada, my goal was to figure out how to stay within sort of the snow industries. I knew I wanted to be around the sport, but I also knew that instructing probably wasn't a viable career in terms of just the amount of money that you make through it. I mean, I know you can work your way up pretty high, and there's specific, you can move into coaching and stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of didn't really see as much of a pathway for the rest of my career, just teaching. So I picked up a camera sort of that last year in Canada, that second year in Canada, and just sort of started playing around with it again. And somewhat, I've met a few people that were doing it, photography as that was their career, and they were making some good money off it, which was nice. It was kind of nice to see that there was an opportunity for this, because I'd never really seen that there was a career in photography or videography or that creative side. And then after Canada, yeah, I sort of struggled back in Oz, and then started looking into a season in Japan. And I knew that the easiest way to do that was to do another season instructing and try and push myself to get out there and offer photography or videography stuff to local businesses, or it worked out well that the company I ended up instructing for, they wanted someone to help with their social media and provide a heap of photos and reels and stuff like that. So yeah, I managed to combine the two that season, which was kind of cool. And that throughout that season, I really enjoyed the creative side to it more than the instructing side of it. I still love the instructing, but I think in that season I saw more of a future with a photography career rather than an instructing career, especially to stay within those environments while making the kind of money that I see myself making.
Mm. So how did you find the Canadian season compared to the Japanese season? Obviously, everyone goes on about Japan. Is it as good as it
That
sounds?
first season was kind of an average season for Hakuba. I mean, Japan as a whole was it wasn't great, but it wasn't awful. Which was fine, because as I said, it was my first season in Japan. I'd been to Hakuba before, so I knew what it could be like really good, and I'd been there when it was really shit. So I kind of knew the two extremes, and I was happy to take the good with the bad. I just knew I wanted to be back on my board for as long as I could. One thing I'll say is it's nowhere near as cold as Canada, which
It's
is
not, no.
nowhere near. It's kind of Hakuba on average is between 0 and -10, if that.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, which is I mean, good and bad. The snow doesn't stay. The quality of the snow doesn't stay. Like when the sun comes out, it warms up pretty quickly. It
Yeah. Is it kind of like
deteriorates.
spring skiing a lot? Not
Uh,
like actual spring, but I mean like the equivalent of like a Canadian spring, where it's kind of like,
yeah, yeah, I would say so. Especially on that first season I was there, um, because we didn't have as much snowfall, and then going back this season was unlike anything I've ever experienced. The amount of snow we got was just is unbelievable at some points.
I'm not
Like,
sure. Did you get?
we had the base at its highest point was close to 8 meters.
My God.
That's the base at the bottom of the
Yeah.
mountain. But we had 12.5 meters of snowfall throughout those 4 months.
That's wild. And why is that? Just because is it because is it because it's a small island, so it's wet and there's a lot of snow? Is am I
From all the stuff that I've read is that these weather patterns come down from Siberia, and they sort of bounce off. What do they bounce off? But it's close to the coast, so this these cool weather patterns just come straight down from, where is it?
He's trying to find it on a map.
Yeah, I am trying to find it on a map.
Did you go to that road in Japan where it's like famous because, well, I mean, it's just massive cliffs of snow and there's a road in between it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I didn't go there.
Do you
But
know, yeah.
we didn't really need to, because there was the snow walls in town this last season were massive.
Yeah.
There was it would have been double, triple overhead at that towards the end of the season, and they just kept pushing this snow up and up and up.
How does that not collapse on you? Like, is there not a part of you when you're walking past, like, surely this fucking thing could just fall on me?
Yeah, a little bit. They had to bring in these big excavators at one point to just move some of the snow further back from the road. There's just an empty plot of land there.
And how do the buildings, like, how do houses not collapse with the weight of,
They
like, I
actually
mean,
did.
oh, do they?
They actually did. There was one house this season that an elderly Japanese couple got trapped in their house because their front porch collapsed under the weight of the snow, and they just had to get a bunch of people from town to go and shovel them out.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, because I wonder, yeah, because I'm imagining just like houses with like 12 feet of snow on them. Like, I guess it kind of gets blown off a little bit, but it must be like, I mean, I guess they also must build them with that in mind. They live in that place. They must know structurally that these buildings will have to have, I don't know, some form of reinforcement. Am I overthinking
Yeah,
that? But
yeah. But then you drive around town after a couple of big snow days, and there's people up on the roofs shoveling snow off.
yeah,
They're pretty on top of the snow clearing, because they have to be, otherwise the whole town shuts down.
yeah.
Uh, and which it did a couple of days this last season.
Like the
Jealous.
whole town will just shut down.
Yeah, mountains didn't open. You couldn't do much because everything was buried.
Yeah. This is, I mean, totally kind of similar idea, but not in any way related to snow. The other day here in Banff, there was a power cut, but the entire town, like
Mm,
everywhere. So, like,
mm.
house, office, no traffic lights, no nothing. And I did like a lap just to see, obviously to find out where it was. And it was kind of weird just walking around town and everything was off. Like the whole place was, it wasn't dead because it was like midday and there's people walking around, but it was kind of like weird to be like, oh, like, I don't know. It's just actually what I started thinking in my head was, I was like, what happens if the electricity just doesn't come back on? You start thinking, you're like, could I catch a deer? Like,
Yeah,
am I capable? But
I
that's
reckon,
not, again, that's not what I was going to ask you about.
I reckon you could.
Uh, yeah. But so you were kind of saying there that obviously did the ski season in Canada, go back to Australia, not loving it. Obviously, at that point in time, you'd met a couple of people who were into photography. You want to go do a season in Japan, and you kind of were able to combine like the photography and instructing. Like, I guess they kind of sound like they blended. So I guess the photography wasn't like or was it like, had you always been into photography, or was it kind of like a aha moment when you met these people and you're like, oh shit, they're doing this, like I could do this? Or did you always enjoy it and you're just like, oh, sweet, I'll do this anyway. I might as well try it.
It's kind of a bit of both. I did a bit in high school. I did a couple of photography courses, which I loved at the time. It was kind of an excuse just to get out of class and wander around school with a camera. But I did enjoy it. And I loved filming sort of our family holidays and making little videos and taking photos that I thought were cool at the time. Now looking back on them, not so much, but
Yeah.
hey.
You haven't even commented on the picture. Well, I guess this is. Can you see this behind me?
Is that me
That's
slacklining
you, yeah. That's the.
on the front
I
page of
mean,
the band?
people can't see this, but what I'm referring to is there's a cut out from the front page of the local newspaper in Banff from June, the 10th of June, 2021, where you're on a what? On a Jack
Slackline.
Flynn walks along a slack line set up in Central Park in Banff on Saturday. Yeah. So you're already famous, mate, before you came on the podcast.
Yeah. I think Aiden's still annoyed at me for that
What? Oh, because you were on it, not him.
because it was his slackline and
Yeah.
he was the one who could actually do it. I think I took 2 steps and they
Yeah. It's
they
a cool
snapped.
picture.
It is a cool picture. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Surprised
get
you.
it framed.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. But there's also a funny picture of you and I. If with your permission, I might use it as an Instagram post where it's like Christmas and it's like me and you just
Oh,
like in front of a fire, just looking like two little boys, fucking
with
lost, to be
our
honest.
little tree with our beer ornaments on there.
Yeah, yeah, that was actually cool. But with the photography, so you were talking about like getting pictures there. Like, were your if you have one, do you feel like already developed like a style, or are there like when you're taking with your photography, like what are you trying to capture? Are you trying to capture like the beauty of something, the story behind a picture, like emotion in the picture? Like, do you feel like you've kind of is that stuff that you even think about, or you
Yeah,
what do you
definitely.
think?
Definitely. It's I feel like if you don't somewhat portray some emotion in the photo, then your viewers and yourself don't really get anything out of it. So it's
Mm.
I think what I love to take photos of is um people doing cool things in their environments and sort of being a fly on the wall. So that's why I love shooting skiing and snowboarding, because it's kind of let the athlete do his or her thing and just sort of document it. But also showing the environment that they're doing it in. In surf photography, I've heard people refer to it as like surfscape. So it's like a mix of like surf photography and landscape photography. Um, and there's a couple of photographers. There's a heap of photographers out there now that are doing this sort of style of photography. Chris Burkhardt would probably be one that comes to the top of my mind. Who, yeah, he's really nailed in that sort of that style of showing the athlete in the environment, but also the cool landscape that they're doing it in. And that's what I love doing. But until you get to a stage where you're that well known as a photographer, there's not that much money in that kind of stuff. So you kind of need to branch out into other photography industries to sort of build that portfolio and make a name for yourself and really dial in your craft, to then give you the opportunities to go and do these other cool things.
Yes, like if I'm right in saying you've done like you were helping your mate out with his gym, I think, which is in Thailand, or you were in Thailand, or is that right?
No,
The gym's in Thailand.
here in Perth.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. He's got a strength and conditioning gym called Habitual Strength and Conditioning here in Perth. I still help him out with that stuff.
And I've seen
He
some car stuff as well.
Yeah, I was running the social media for a luxury car rental place here in Perth. For 2 years I was doing that, and that was a lot of fun. Got to drive some nice cars and take some cool photos and meet some cool people, but they have moved somewhat away from their luxury range and just sort of moved more into commercial and your general hire cars. And they didn't want to push that kind of stuff on their social media. So I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
fair.
which is kind of a blessing, because I was kind of stuck in a routine of doing that work and they were my main client. So I was kind of happy just plodding along doing that stuff. But since losing that, it's forced me to go and work in other niches and put myself a bit more out there to find work, and it's working out well.
Yeah, I've got my friend Scott. I don't know if we ever chatted about him, but he's honestly kind of similar to you. Maybe just literally a couple of years ahead because he did it a couple of years before you. But he kind of followed like a similar thing where like he left a banking job he was doing, got into photography, did like a bunch of like work. I think he recently he doesn't do it anymore, but he was like working for Ford and fucking Edinburgh, maybe back home doing, I guess there, you probably won't appreciate me for getting this, but yeah, doing photography for them or like running their marketing or something like that. And then
Yeah.
he had a similar situation, I think, where him and I were talking about it, where he was like, I can keep doing this. He's like, it pays my bill. He's got a wife and kids and a house, but he said, it pays my bills, yeah, etc., etc. But it wasn't really what he was wanting to do. And he didn't, you obviously had the kind of decision made for you when they were like, we're going in a different direction. And you're like, cool, this is going to spur me on to do this other thing anyway. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
he was chatting to me and he was like, I want to do it, but it's hard to give up. Like what you were saying when you're plodding along and doing it, it's hard to give that up to then take the risk of.
Oh, 100%. Especially
Yeah.
especially in a creative industry where you kind of, not really in the sense that I didn't somewhat get that choice. It was sort of made for me. But if you're making it for yourself, you're moving away from like a paycheck that you know is going to come in, and you're moving towards something that you now have to go and find the work. It's not going to come to you. And that can be, you got to put yourself out there. So it can be quite daunting.
And did you find, like, have you always been quite a creative person, or did you, have you? Like, did you always feel creative, or did you fall into photography and not fall into, sorry, but, pursue photography and then you're like, oh, this is allowing me a creative outlet that I was kind of missing and not realizing?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. I think everyone has like a creative aspect to themselves. I just don't think that's ever, I'm trying to think of the word I'm thinking for. It's not really, I don't know, most of the time the creative side of things doesn't pay that well, and it doesn't pay for the lifestyle that you may want. So it kind of gets pushed to the side, especially when you're younger and everyone's saying you need to go and do this and this and get a job. And so it's kind of, it's pushed to the back of the mind. But I think when you really dive head first into it, it can really change your life. And taking that step to go, I'm going to take the risk of not receiving a paycheck consistently. I'm going to take this risk and do something that I really love. And if the money comes from that, then that's a bonus. And if it doesn't, then I do always have something to fall back on. I do have my degree. You can always go and relearn something else or change paths. I kind of feel like we're so caught up in what's going on in life that you're like, I can't, I spent all this time doing one thing that I kind of have to stick to it now, even if you don't necessarily enjoy it. But I'm like, why not change it? Doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40, or like, doesn't matter how old you are. I think you can change your whole life direction if you really want to.
Right. Yeah, I guess I know you and I have chatted about this when we lived together, but it's, the idea of risk. It's like, do you risk? I mean, that was going to be a question I was going to ask you, which is, do you risk, quote unquote, like the kind of traditional safe path, which is, probably would have been staying in construction 9 to 5, working in the mines, making a shitload of money, doing what you want, yada yada, and risk. But the risk at that point would have been getting to old age and looking back and be like, oh fuck, I wish I'd tried it. I wish I'd tried that passion, like photography or snowboarding or whatever it may be, or doing the opposite, like doing what you're kind of doing just now and taking the risk now. And not that I think this will happen, obviously, but like worst case scenario, it doesn't pan out. You do need to fall back on it. That's the opposite risk. But I think like people like you who have that passion, but also you also have like a very good work ethic and you're smart. You know what I mean? You're not someone who's pursuing a passion just like blindly and just uneducated. Like, people like yourself who are following a passion, but who are smart and like really pushing it and constantly kind of like, okay, like I'll try this and try that, and like how do I get better at it? I don't think it is a risk
Mm.
because I think you will make something of it.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. And it's kind of, I don't know, the idea always pops back into my head of like, what am I doing? I'm,
Yeah.
I'm, I'm not making anywhere near as much money as I had imagined at 28.
You're 28.
Yeah.
Damn, I don't know why. Obviously, you're older now, but I just pictured you in my head as like fucking, yeah, 2 years younger than that forever.
Yeah.
Eternally 25 in my
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah, I wish. But yeah.
That's so funny. I remember when I was 20 and you were like, what?
Yeah.
28? Fuck it.
Yeah. You're an old man.
Oh, wait till you're 30, bro. It's, yeah,
Not long
life
now.
changing.
Yeah. Life
You're
change.
closer to 30 than you are to. I'm now just parroting everything that you used to say to me, but you're now closer to 30 than you are to 25.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But
But
sorry,
that's,
mate, I didn't mean to cut you off there. You were saying, especially being 28.
yeah, it's just kind of that thought always popped back into my head of like, what am I doing? I don't, like I've got some sort of a plan set out, and I told myself, my partner Ella, and mum and dad that I would give myself till I'm 30 to really see if I can make this photography career work. And if I hadn't sort of met those goals, then I would I would take a step back and still do it as a hobby in my spare time, and try and keep it as a bit of a side hustle. But I would then go and knuckle down and get a job back in construction and use my degree and start being what society calls a real adult.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to do everything in my power to not do that and to really
Yeah.
make the photography stuff work. But that's not, I don't see that as just shooting for brands and running social media pages. And I would love to sell my own prints and maybe even make the frames like handmade, especially because we've got the farm here in Perth or south of Perth, and Dad's been building lots of things and just, yeah, any idea that he comes up with, he'll put it into action. Whether it's building the horse stables that we've been doing, or putting in a new house down there, or building bridges, or lighting shit on fire, or whatever comes to mind. He's been doing it, so it's kind of spurred me on to put the full circle of the creative cycle into place. So it's like
Yeah.
me creating the photos or taking the photos, and selling them as prints, but also keeping it all local, handmade, and mean something to me as well as the person who's buying the prints. So that's one future goal.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
you were talking the other day about doing your drone license. How does that kind of factor? I didn't even know. I thought you could just buy a drone and put it in there. I didn't realize you needed a license. Or is
you
that just
can
a new drone thing?
you can just buy a drone and just fly it around. There's rules for everyone. Whether people follow those rules or not, that's but you will get in trouble if you don't. um,
So what's the bet? So how come you need to do a drone license?
so the
Does
drone,
that allow you to get jobs with it, or?
uh, so anything, if the drone's under 2 kilograms, and you want to fly it commercially, you can do that you can just get an accreditation, which is free. It's online. It's real quick. Anyone can do that. But if you want to fly anything over 2 kilograms for recreational or commercial use, you then have to have a remote pilot's license. which I was kind of thinking of it. I was like, it'd be cool to add to my resume, and I'd be able to charge more or get bigger jobs which require flying a drone, or whether it's creative or for any other industry. I just thought it was a cool thing to add to my skill set. Although the price of it was kind of out of my range at the time. I think it's about $4,000 to get the full thing for
Really?
Yeah, 4,000 Australian dollars.
Oh my God.
And when I was looking into it, they had a email competition running at the time. So I just signed up with my email and didn't think twice about it until it was probably 5 or 6 months later, which I got an email saying that I'd won the course.
Oh, wow.
And on the phone they said, yeah, we'll just give you the full package basically. So I'm in the process of getting my REPL, which is the pilot's license. I've got my aeronautical radio certificate, so I can talk to planes and towers and stuff. And then they'll upgrade me to, I do an endorsement where I can fly a drone up to 25 kilograms. So a pretty big one.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you're going to start telling people that you're a pilot then?
Well,
are you going to, if someone said, what'd you do? You're like, well, I do actually have my pilot's license.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Well, in the course, they were saying that it basically is a pilot's license, and they compared it to, like, let's say your car license. You get your car, and that's your basic license. And then if you want to get your truck license or anything else, you don't have to do the full course again. You can just do like little specific sections and do a practical. So once I get this, if I ever want to go fly a helicopter or a small fixed wing plane, then the process is much easier for that. I don't have to do the full thing again, which is good because it's a pretty intense course.
Yeah, especially if it's $4,000.
Yeah, it's all about weight and lift and all the physics behind it, and you got to learn weather patterns and.
So, excuse my ignorance here, but like, without maybe stating the obvious of it's bigger, like, what would be the benefit over a 25 kilogram drone to a 2 kilogram drone? Is it just that it's bigger, it's got more cameras, it's got more functions? Is that
you wouldn't need anything bigger than 2 kilograms if it was just photography and videography. You can do them with all the DJI recreational drones that are out there. That's all I've got. I think mine weighs 750 grams or something, which is quite small, but the cameras are unreal on it. Like, when you move up into those bigger drones, it's more for, they use them a lot in like agricultural stuff for spraying. They use them in the mines for like surveying stuff, to gather data, a whole bunch of things outside of sort of that photography industry. And then, I mean, it's big in like military stuff as well. So,
yeah, I was watching a random YouTube video of a guy flying. It wasn't at the Oscars, like the event itself, but it was at the place, and he was like flying the drone from like the outside in, like all the way through the hallway into the stage. And I was like, it honestly blew my mind how he did that, because it was like, flying it through a building. I was like, it's mad how.
He'd be flying one of the FPV drones where you look through the goggles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there was a snippet of him in the drone, and he was wearing goggles.
Yeah, they're I've never flown one, but from what I've heard, they're pretty intense to fly. You have to do a lot of simulation training and stuff like that before you actually go and fly the drone. Because it's like with the one I have, if you let go of the controls, it just sits in the air, it just hovers. And they have a whole bunch of sensors it's kind of dummy proof in a way that you're not just going to fly it into a wall or into a tree or whatever it is. But the FPV ones are fully reliant on your controls. If you're not
if you
flying,
stop, it'll just like.
Yeah, it'll fall out of the
Right,
sky.
okay.
We'll stop
Damn.
flying. Yeah. But they have a lot more flexibility on how you fly them,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. But I honestly think would, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I struggle with VR stuff, so I can't imagine flying a little drone through the sky while staring through the goggles. Yeah, I'd get dizzy or get a headache.
Yeah, it looks intense.
Yeah.
So obviously you're doing a drone license then, so you're kind of learning how to do that now. Like, so with photography, like going back to photography in general with like a traditional camera, how do you learn? Like, I'm kind of the person where like if I'm learning something like probably too much to at times, like I'll like read books, I'll listen to podcasts, like I'll try, I don't know what. Like I guess I'm always like looking at stuff like that to learn. But like with photography, like are you the same, or are you just like I'm fucking going out with my camera and I'm just gonna click away until I sense it? Not
I
sense it,
mean,
but you know what I mean?
bit of both. It's I mean, the best way to learn is to just get out and shoot everything. Don't just stick to one. Don't just stick to just sport, because then you get really good at that. But then, say you have to go and shoot an event, or you want to go shoot some cars, or a wedding, or whatever it is, you won't know how to interact with those people and shoot those different niches. So yeah, the best way to learn is just to get out there and shoot everything and anything. But then obviously you do need to dial in like the actual settings of the camera and stuff like that. So that's learned through YouTube and watching other people do it, or meeting like-minded photographers that are happy to sort of share what they've learned along the process. It's just trying to develop that network and that community around that space. It's really going to help you do it. Because for probably the last 2 years, I've kind of been doing it by myself in a sense. Not in the sense that like it's just me, but I haven't really had anyone to sort of bounce ideas off or learn from, and everything you see online is get a mentor, get someone who's been through what you're wanting to do, and they can somewhat show you, maybe not the way, but someone to bounce ideas off and critique you when you're needed, when it's needed, which is what I've been trying to do recently. I've
Like
joined
find a mentor.
maybe not one mentor, but like join a bit more of a community that um you can reach out to and ask questions and bring your struggles to, and it's worked. It's yeah, I've found it beneficial. And then
Yeah.
it's also a great way just to grow your network, because I mean, in the creative industries, it's not really what you know, it's who you know, as in most other industries. So without a network, it's so much harder to find jobs. It's so much harder to find work. But if you know a bunch of other creatives, then if they need someone else, or they can't make it, or whatever the reason, and you immediately pop into their mind, then that's just easy. And
Yeah.
the jobs start coming to you rather than you having to reach out.
Yeah, there was a guy, a friend, actually, Aaron, that did a podcast with a while ago, like in the summer, and he's doing photography. And him and I did a podcast, one because I asked him, but two because then he was doing like a photo shoot with one of his mates, and he was kind of saying what you're saying, which is like the two of them lived in town. I think his mate might have been slightly more into it than he was, as in just like time wise. I think he'd just been doing it a little bit more, or maybe not. But anyway, they were both using each other to like bounce their ideas off of. And I did like a running photo shoot with them, and dude, it was the fucking coolest thing ever, because I was watching these two people being super creative, where they were getting me to run it like through this trail, and they were like literally like running it, and they're like, "What do you think about that? Like, say we should like jump off this or jump over that." And watching two people be super creative, even though I was literally just like a mannequin for, effectively, I was just like a fucking object to them at the time. It was cool just watching them and feed. Even like me, I was like kind of feeding off that creative energy and just being like, "This is fucking well cool."
I know.
Just yeah, I was super sweet, mate. I honestly thought, yeah, I was just very fun because my job, as you know, right now is like an office job. So to take because I actually took a day off to help them with that, and I remember being like, I would normally just be sitting in an office like typing away on a computer, and here I am with these two guys, and this is technically their job, and they're fucking running all over the place. Like it was super cool. Now, obviously, I said that to him, and he said that is true, but he was like, 90% of the time, I'm sitting in a dark room with a laptop trying to edit these pictures. Like, you're here for the like 10% that's super creative and fun, and you're dropping all over the place. But
Yeah,
there's a
which
lot of
yeah, that is true.
unseen stuff.
A lot of the time is sat behind a computer and editing or updating your portfolio or trying to organize catalogs and stuff like that, which is good because I mean you can't be creative 100% of the time. It does drain a lot out of you. You're trying to come up with ideas and angles and stuff like that 100% of the time, especially if you don't have someone to bounce ideas off.
And did you, when you got into like, so I kind of joke about it with my mate Scott, where I was like, obviously just doing this podcast and even just like filming simple things in my phone, and having to do like the bare minimum of editing because mine's definitely way not what you guys are doing visually. I was like, fucking hell, man. I thought it was like plug and play. Like I thought you took a picture, you uploaded it. Did you, when you went into photography, did you know there was a lot more to that? Or did you, when you start doing it, you're like, holy shit, I didn't actually realize that there's so much work that goes into editing?
I knew. As I said, in high school, I learned about like Lightroom and Photoshop, and I knew the kind of the editing process that went into it. Probably not to the extent that I'm doing now. And then I kind of learned all the video editing software through just making like little holiday highlight videos and stuff. Like we did my first trip to Japan with a bunch of my mates from Perth here. We recorded a whole heap of it and spent weeks making a video afterwards. We would just go around and sit in his room, and he had a big laptop, a big computer set up, and we would just sit there for hours making videos and playing Uno and just hanging out. So it was, I knew how much time and effort went into those sort of things.
Yeah. I was kind of smiling to myself there. And I'm pretty sure I've told you this before, but how, when we lived together, we had been at the ski hill one day with a bunch of other guys, and you had been filming the whole thing, and you'd been spending the whole like evening like editing it, and then we sat down and you were like, oh, do you want to watch the video from today? And I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's watch it. And they were like snippets of like us coming into jumps, and as you know, like I don't do jumps in any context. I like roll over whereas you jump. Anyway, and I remember there was like four of us. It was like me, you, Mikey, and another guy, and I was like tailing Charlie the whole day. And like every snippet in the video would be like, it'd be like obviously not you, but it'd be like Mikey, other guy, and then you'd see me like slowly come around the corner, and they'd be like, cut to the next video. And then it'd be like, Mikey, next guy. And then it'd be me, like, just about to get there. And you're like, cut to the next video. And I remember I was saying to you, and you were like, dude, if I had included you in that actual video, it would have been like triple the length of like me just like trying to fucking catch up. But yeah, sorry, that's when I was kind of laughing to myself when you were talking about that there, because I do actually remember you editing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, no, you mentioned that in another podcast. I'm trying to remember who it was.
Oh, did I? God, yeah.
I think it was when
that's how much it's traumatized me. I can't let it go. I just keep telling people.
I'm sorry. I'll have to come back.
I'm only joking. Nah, I mean, that is a joke. Like, I totally appreciate you are. I mean, obviously, like, yeah, I mean, I was shit at doing it, so it would have not really have been that. It would have been like sick jump, guy in his 30s like rolling over a snowmound. So I don't blame you in any way, mate. It was just a funny story. But have you had like, since you've been doing photography, have you had, what's been your craziest isn't the right word I'm looking for, but like what's been the furthest you have gone to get a picture, if that makes sense? Like whether it's like a location or like a thing where someone asks you to do this and you're like, right, okay, this is me kind of pushing it as far as I've gone.
No one's really asked me for anything too crazy. I think the crazy stuff comes from me coming up with other ideas. I would say probably the craziest spot I've put myself into to somewhat get a shot was in Japan this season just gone. And so the company I work for, Central Snow Sports, they are a retail and rental ski and snowboard store in Hakuba. And they have a couple of sponsored athletes. One is how old is he? I think he's 8, Geordie, and he skis, and he's a pretty incredible skier. Then the other one is Finn, and he's an Australian skier, he competes in a lot of the freeride World Tour qualifiers. And there's one in Hakuba every year. It's a 4-star competition. And it's always run on either the north face or the south face of the main mountain in town called Hapoone. And you come up to the top of the mountain on the lifts, which is nice, and then you just walk over the back and it just opens up into this huge mountainside that just is quite raw and it gives you that big mountain feel as you sort of get in Canada. And I'd positioned myself up near the judges, kind of on this ridge with all my camera gear and everything, and that was fine. Managed to record him coming down. He had a pretty decent run, and then sort of shot a few of the other athletes. And then didn't really want to hang around for the rest of the day because I was only really there to shoot one guy. So packed up my stuff and started to make my way down. I had a pretty heavy kit and the camera's still in my hand because the bag was full. And ended up in this spot that was just above a huge cliff. And in that moment, I was like, oh, I'm by myself. I don't have... I'm trying to remember if I didn't have my avalanche gear. I didn't have a helmet. I was, camera in hand, and the competition was still going. So I was like, no one cares about what I'm doing. No one is even aware that I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just had to stop and kind of reassess the whole situation. It was like, okay, if I make the wrong decision here, like it could end up pretty bad. And luckily I had the drone at the time, so I just sort of stopped and took a big deep breath and was like, okay, I'm just going to put the drone up and assess the situation where I am, and thank God I did have the drone because it was a lifesaver in that moment, because the direction I was going to go was, it looked like a bit of a track and then it just dropped and there was probably a 20-meter cliff. And then the only other, well, there was 3 options. Dude, go that way, which was not really an option. Unstrap my board and climb back up, which wasn't really an option and was probably more dangerous than the other 2, in the sense that it was quite steep, and if I did fall, I was going over the cliff, not on my board. And the third one was right in front of me. You couldn't really see it from where I was standing, but on the drone you could see a huge, I don't really get them in Canada, but it's called a glide crack. It's where the because the ground doesn't get cold enough and the snow falls on it, it doesn't adhere to the ground that well. And when it builds up over time, the snow slides and it leaves a big crack in the snow, pretty much all the way to the ground. If you fall in them, they can be pretty deep and dangerous
and like a crevasse.
Yeah, pretty much just a crevasse. Yeah, and that was right in front of me. But out of all the options, riding and jumping over that was the best option.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, yeah. So out of the three options, that was the conclusion I came to, that I would put the drone away and position myself right above it, and then just really just send it over the top, and not fall. And I managed to do that, and rode all the way down to the bottom where the finish line to the competition was. And there was a couple of the guys riding down at the time, and yeah, kind of got to the bottom and unstrapped my board and just sort of sat there, and my legs were shaking, and yeah, just kind of sat down at the bottom and was like, oh, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Adrenaline was pumping, and yeah, felt pretty alive at that point. But was just
like,
happy.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of a moment where I was like, oh, that could have ended up really badly, but it didn't. So cool.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, this is like pretty intense, to be honest.
Yeah, that's probably the most the trickiest spot I've put myself into to get those shots. And it was partly on my poor planning, in the sense that I was so focused on getting the shots that I didn't really think about my pathway out of where I put myself.
Yeah.
So definitely, definitely something that I will think about in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's also, it kind of is that thing. So I guess what I was going to say is kind of that thing where, am I right in saying that you're more into wanting to get into photography for, like, way back in the beginning, you said it was more to film people doing, or film cool people, or people doing cool things in the environment, like you are. If that's what you want to do, you are kind of putting yourself in environments, not necessarily that are that intense, but certainly, yeah, you're not
100%.
like sitting in a car park taking a picture of a car. I know you're kind of doing that a little bit, but
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, especially in the extreme sport world, which is probably out of all the sports, the extreme sports is what I enjoy. It gives me that adrenaline, and it's not just like a team sport, or it's not just tennis or golf or whatever it is. It's people pushing the boundaries and putting their life on the line some of the time to do cool things. And I think that should be shown to the world. It's quite inspiring, and really makes you push yourself outside of your own comfort zone.
yeah. And with regards to, like, you're obviously talking about networking, so, like, I kind of assume that, a lot of people who are into extreme sports, say it's like snowboarding or fucking mountain biking or whatever, I would assume it is kind of hard to get in with these people, because they must have a friend who, want to do photography, and that's kind of their go-to person, unless you work for like would working for someone like a big Red Bull company be appealing?
That would be unreal. Like I would, yeah,
That's kind of the dream, maybe.
that is sort of the end goal, to work for either professional athletes in their industries, or work for cool brands that are doing cool things in those environments. I mean, Red Bull's cool in the sense that they do a lot of cool events, and they have a lot of cool athletes under their brand name. But I don't love Red Bull in the sense that their business is essentially an energy drink,
Yeah.
which I hate. I don't love it. And and I don't think that drink's good for anyone. So to be the base of their business is, yeah, I don't think it's great. But what they're doing in the fields of these sports is fantastic for entertainment and to push the sport in a different direction.
It almost feels like now that it's actually their business is mental videos of extreme sports, and
Oh,
the
100%.
the side part of the business is the Red Bull cans.
Yeah. They basically just give away the drinks for free now.
Yeah.
They make all their money through events and sponsors and other stuff like that. So it's, but yeah, to work for brands like, I don't know, Burton or, yeah, any sort of big brand in those sort of extreme sports, I think would be really cool. Or working with the individual athletes themselves.
Yeah. And do you find like living in Australia, is there living in Australia, do you feel like there's opportunities there for that? I'm trying to just think in my head because I'm like, you were mentioning like Burton and stuff like that, and like I immediately thought of Canada. Like, is there restrictions or positives about living in like specific places with regards to trying to get into certain things?
Yeah, 100%. I suppose here in Perth, there is no snow, so you're not going to get any experience or any work in those sort of industries or with those kind of brands, unless you put yourself in those environments, which is kind of what I'm doing with Japan. And in Japan, I don't think there's anywhere near as much competition in terms of photographers and videographers.
Oh,
Whereas
really?
in Canada, I feel like there's a lot more people trying to push into those industries. Um,
Do you know why that is? Or like, have you got it?
uh, no, not really. I think Japan is. I kind of feel like uh, a bit behind the times in a lot of things. They like sticking with traditional ways and doing things as they always have been. Whereas I think sort of Canada and America and Australia and sort of more of the Western world is quite um, very forward thinking especially in the creative industries, but and they also somewhat stick to their own. So like there's a few photographers and videographers in Hakuba. They're Japanese, but they sort of stick to the Japanese crowd and the Japanese businesses and stuff. And so there's a bit of a hole in that field to target sort of the Western countries and the families and those businesses that want to work in those spaces. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And then in Perth here, it's more around team sports, or I'm really trying to do a lot more surf photography. I would love to get into that. But I don't think there's not as many pathways into extreme sports over here. It doesn't, from my perspective, it doesn't seem like it. I suppose if you're brought up with your parents doing those sort of things, it might be a bit more sort of a viable option. But from me growing up with team sports and stuff like that, I've never really thought about there being like mountain biking in WA or Aussie surfing was a thing, but that was kind of it. The BMX and the skateboarding industry it's not really prevalent. And then, yeah, like rock climbing and mountain biking and all those other sort of extreme sports, you don't really hear too much about. Whereas I think in Canada and Japan, it's more based around those extreme individual sports than the team sports in a sense. And maybe that was just the circles we were in.
Yeah.
But,
I was kind of thinking that as you were saying that there, I was thinking, is it the bubble of Banff that we've lived in, which is such an extreme place like, I suspect like if I was to ask Cass from, like kind of rural Ontario, what it was like, I don't think she would be. I don't think it would be as extreme as here, which
Yeah.
is where you and I have lived in the whole of Canada.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
100%.
almost like
So
if you're not doing something extreme here, that's the odd thing out.
yeah. Yeah. And they're the kind of places that I love. Like in Banff, it was unreal. Just the amount of the options that were like right on your front door to go and do something that living here prior to coming to Canada, I wouldn't think of doing. Climbing a mountain, or you've got 10 mountains right at your front door to go and climb, or you can go and climb an ice wall, or you can go and ride down the steepest face you'll ever look at on a mountain bike, or it's kind of it just seems like that all those options are right there, and there's nothing holding you back from them. Whereas living in a big city like this, if it feels like there's more distractions in the way, and there's more there's just more obstacles, kind of. Even though
Yeah.
there's probably not. It's more of a mental thing.
I think it's just like the access to it, like in Banff, I could literally walk out my door and, well, not even walk out my door, but I could, in the winter, I could drive. I mean, if I went to Northway, I could drive like 10, 15 minutes and be on a ski hill. Again, I could literally leave my door in the summer on a bike and go do a mountain trail. I could, again, leave my door and go a run and be on a running trail. Whereas, obviously living in a city like Perth, I would assume you have to kind of drive like a couple of hours to go to like more remote like the beach or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty close to the beach here. It's about 20 minute drive. But this like that's, you could surf. But for like mountain biking, I wouldn't even really know where the trails are around Perth. We got a few hills. And then if you go down south, apparently it's quite nice down there. But there's no like uphill mountain bike access. You can't get a lift anywhere. You got to ride, or it does feel like there's kind of more barriers to it.
So would that factor in to your decision making with regards to living somewhere? Like if you've obviously given yourself a couple of years to get to 30, like would you factor in, right, cool, let's move to I mean, I know there's visas involved, but let's move to this place, and because it's going to give me more of a barrier for entry into this stuff.
Yes and no. I think with where I'm at right now, especially with Elle, we're going through the partner visa process here in
You come back
Oz.
to Banff?
What was that?
So you coming back to Banff?
No. As in like Elle
Ah,
visa for. I would,
brilliant.
Banff's, I would love to come back. But until we get this partner visa, Elle cannot leave the country without an exemption.
Yeah.
So we're kind of just waiting for that to come through. It could be another year.
Okay. But when you get a partnership visa in Australia, does that have any influence in then getting one for Canada? No, you just need to go through the same process again.
No, we would have to go through the same process in Canada again, although the financial aspect of it is significantly less in Canada.
Oh, is it?
It's really expensive here in Oz.
Yeah.
It's close to 10 grand here.
Wow.
And from what I've heard in Canada, it's less than $1,000.
Okay. I actually heard a couple of guys in the gym chatting about it. I had no idea who they were. They were just random guys. So I don't really know if this is true. But I think from what I heard in the conversation, one of them was saying that him and his girlfriend were going to go for the partnership visa in Canada. But he says they've moved it from 1 year to 3 years.
The process?
As in the amount of time you have to be together.
I
I don't know that for a fact, by the way. but I
It's
did
3
hear
years
that.
here in it's 3 years here in Oz.
Oh, cool. Then it's not really much of a difference to you then.
Yeah, yeah. It's well, 3 years. They say you have to be living together, but it's 3 years together, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah. We were living together and then not like living separately. She was overseas or I was in. Yeah, it was a bit all over the place for the first couple of years. But yeah, we're just waiting for that to come through, and then I mean, I love Perth. The more I travel, the more I'm like, yeah, I could settle down here and stay here,
Yeah.
especially with combining that with Japan. Um, it's kind of tricky with Canada because the season's so much longer, um, and it's so much further away from my family. Um,
Yeah, that's the
which I
thing.
did,
Yeah.
which I didn't think was going to be an issue, but yeah, I did miss them and being that far away from them and quite close with them. So it's nice to be back here. But then it's also nice to go to Japan and get away from them for three
Yeah.
months. And
Yeah, I think
it's,
that's, sorry.
yeah, it's only an 8 hour direct flight to Japan instead of like 40 hours of travel to get to Canada.
Yeah, that's such a uniquely Australian experience that, I feel like there's few places in the world, such as Australia, where it's so long to get to. Like I had the exact same thing as you, where when I lived in Australia, it was, yeah, I mean, the opposite for me in the sense of like, it was, fucking 30 something hours to try and get home. Uh,
Yeah.
Whereas I find this, yeah, it's such a uniquely Australian experience that you're so far from everywhere, really.
Especially in Perth. I mean, Perth is technically the most isolated city in the world.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, I think, I think they classify that as the next closest city. We are the furthest away from the next closest city. I think it's like close to 3,000 kilometers or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you do now have the UFC and fucking WWE SmackDown, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, yeah, we had the WWE.
Have you been
Today.
to either of those events?
Nah, I actually got approached to
Nah.
shoot it. I actually got approached to shoot it,
What one?
the WWE,
Oh, dude, you should. I mean,
but
how come you?
I was already booked for the night.
Oh, it's
I'd already
gutting.
said yes to shooting another event. So I
That'd be very cool to do, though. And the
it,
UFC. I mean, I know you're not necessarily an MMA fan, but that'd be fucking sweet to get into. I mean, again, either of them, you put that on your CV and you go somewhere else. I mean, even if I had no context to it, I'd be like, "What? He's shot at the UFC? Like that's legit."
yeah, yeah, it'd be pretty cool. And I'm trying to. There's a few studios around Perth that I'm trying to weasel my way into and they're the kind of studios that shoot these bigger events and get the media passes. So yeah, I'm slowly trying to meet the people that are working with them and own these studios and try and work my way in there.
Yeah. But I guess, do you have like what do you think at this point in the stage of this? So you obviously said that got a couple of years, you're going to push it till you're 30. Like, what do you feel like is driving you at this point in time? Do you have like a kind of set like of goals or principles that's kind of like helping you like decision make your way along the process? Or is it purely just like, I really want to do photography, I'm fucking gunning for that, and it's kind of that simple?
Yeah, like I have some goals that I would like to get to, um, but I also don't think if I don't get to those somewhat goals that then that's like the end of it. Um, they're goals that are probably maybe to some people are kind of extreme, and I'm like, come on, like let's be realistic here. But I think
Can I
if you
ask what
have,
they are?
uh,
If you
well,
you don't have to share them if you don't want, but
one's kind of financially how much I make not profit, but revenue within that year. I would like to get over 100 grand.
Yeah.
That's kind of a goal that I would like to do. And I'm somewhat working my way towards that stage. And what's slowing me down is buying all the camera gear and upgrading all my gear to the extent that I need it to be to get those kind of jobs, which I'm almost at that stage. I've got the cameras. Probably need to upgrade my lenses.
It's photography one of those things where they're constantly just buy the next newest iteration, gadget,
Yeah,
lens,
probably
film,
not as
whatever.
quick as sort of like the phones come out, but it's pretty. It's just a constant cycle of upgrading things and fixing things and stuff like that. It's an expensive industry, and then try and financial is probably one of my goals. To fully set up my website and print shop would be another one. And then I had two goals for the season just gone. One was to get an image or some images published in a magazine, and the goal was to win the film festival in Huckabah this season just gone, and I managed to do both of those, which I was pretty stoked on.
Wow, that's cool. What was the publication you got it in?
It's called Chill Factor Magazine. It's
Chill Factor. I'm going to write this down. Sorry, Chill Factor magazine.
yeah. I've got it just here. Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go grab it. I'll be right back. So that's the mag.
Right. Okay.
Let's see where my photo is.
So when you were away there, I was looking at your garden. I guess I was like, "Fucking hell, it's like a Windows 11 screensaver."
Yeah, it's nice, but yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. So there was 1, 2, 3. I think there was 4. There was 4 images published in here, but that's the best one. That's it.
Oh wow! I think I may have seen that on your Instagram. Actually, is that right?
Yeah. So that's Finn. Finn's the guy that I was saying. He does all the free ride comps and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, it is cool. So now
That's very cool. That must give you a sense of confidence though, where you're like, right, cool. It must give you a sense of confidence that this is good. What I am creating here is of value because people are wanting to put it in their thing.
100%. So yeah.
And did you reach out to them? Did you send it to them? You're like, hey, please publish this for me. Or did they find your stuff and they're like, hey, can we use this?
I kind of knew. I've never actually met him, but Reggae, who owns this magazine or creates it, he's kind of within circles that I'm kind of in, and I knew I wanted to get something published, and so I started chatting to him, and he got back to me and said with how good of a season they had in Huckabah, they wanted to do a segment on it, and for me to send through some photos. So
That's
that was
very cool.
Yeah.
Do you just have like a stack of those in your house and you're just like, please take one?
They sent me this one out, which is cool. But the next goal would to be get a front cover.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. But I've since getting published in this one, I've kind of am listening to other podcasts about photographers that still work within the print media scene. A lot of it is just sending out your photos to publishers and magazines, and if they like them, they publish them. If they don't, then they obviously don't. But a lot of these magazines, they're not gonna necessarily reach out to you. So yeah, this season I reckon I'll push a bit harder to get some photos out there to different magazines.
Yeah, no, my mate Scott and Aaron, they both did a similar thing where like they would get like a product for someone, whether it was like Monster or Smith or Garmin or whatever, and they would do a full photo shoot by themselves. and
Yeah.
then send it to Garmin or whoever the company was, and was like, or tag them on Instagram and be like, hey, this is what I used to,
Yeah.
this is what I could do for you with your product, and whether they use that or not. But yeah, it's kind of showing them like what they can do with their stuff, or what I could do for you if I worked for you.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that I'm trying to do as well at the moment. Just do a bit of like, we call it spec work, where you're creating content for a brand before they even know who you are or what you're about, and then sending it to them or posting it and being like, yeah, this is what I can do. And then obviously you've done all the work, so you're not just going off your word and saying this is what I can do for you. So no, I can show you what I can do for you. Which obviously makes a big difference.
Yeah. So with the WWE thing, how did that come around? Did someone in town just happen to be working, and they're like, "Can you help me?" Or how?
There's another company I work for called Aussies in Action, and they shoot a lot of sport and team photos and stuff like that. And my boss, who owns that company, she was approached to shoot the event, and she just forwarded that on to me, which obviously I said no because I couldn't do it. So
Was there any part of you that was like, oh, maybe I should bin off this other thing and do this?
yeah, part of me was. But the event I had on was an awards night for my old football club.
Right, okay.
And so it's with a bunch of my best mates, and it was some decent coin. So I was happy to forego the WWE opportunity.
Did you tell them though? You're like, I hope you all know that I have rejected WWE to come shoot this for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then I won that film festival as well, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I entered it the season before as well, and managed to get top 10, but didn't really have a storyline to the film. It was kind of just
film, like a video.
Yeah, it was a video.
Oh
yeah.
wow, what was it?
Yeah.
Is there any way to find it?
Yeah, the competition is called the Ukimi Film Festival.
Oh, I just put that UK.
YUK. What UIMI Ukimi?
Yeah, film festival.
Yeah, Hakuba. And it's run by Rhythm Snow Sports, which is another ski and snowboard rental and retail store. And yeah, that first season I entered and managed to do okay, but went and chatted to the judges afterwards, and they said they really liked the visuals, but there wasn't much of a storyline to it. It was more just a highlight reel kind of thing. And the film festival was about your Huckleberry experience. So it's supposed to be kind of emotional and from like really about your experience rather than what Huckleberry is. And so I went away in the off season and knew that I wanted to come back and try again. And throughout the start of the season just gone, I started putting a script together and started filming things and kind of had a bit of a storyline, but hadn't really set it in stone. And then throughout the season that kind of evolved. I knew I wanted to do it on how much snow Japan gets and just the awe that you're in when it does snow that much. And then probably halfway through the season, I was sitting there about just to post some photos from the last couple of months, and I remember this story. I remember this memory of me as a kid sitting at a window. I used to love watching the big storms come in. I'd run around the house yelling at Dad that there's a big storm coming, and then we'd just sit at the window and watch the rain come towards us. Because where I lived up north in northern Western Australia, the storms get pretty intense. like cyclones and stuff. And I loved it. The bigger the storm, the more exciting it was. And it reminded me of that, just seeing how much snow we were getting. And so that was when I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm going to make the story about and relate it to. And it worked out really well.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, the
If I
visuals.
do you have a website? Like, if I go on the website, will I be able to see it?
It is
Or
on
is it
my
on your ends?
portfolio, but it's also on YouTube.
Is it?
It's on my I've got a YouTube channel which the only two videos I have up are those two videos from the film festival. So the first
Yeah.
one's up, and then the second one's up there.
What's the YouTube thing? Is it just Jack Flynn?
It is. I don't often use it that much, so let's go to PR. I think it's my. It's just JF Visuals.
JF Visuals.
Yeah, but I think there's a few JF Visuals out there, so
Oh, really?
I'm not sure how to find it. You could probably type in Jack Flynn _JFV.
Wait, Jack. I'm going to write this down. Jack Flynn _JFE.
Yeah, same as my Instagram handle. And the film's called Japow.
Japan.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Jesus.
So yeah, that was cool. Yeah, it's I'm in it, talking a fair bit. And then there's three other guys that I put in the film that I ended up getting quite close with this season and writing a fair bit with. One was Finn, and then the other two, Aiden and Luke, who snowboard, and it came together really well. I was pretty proud of that.
And you got to go back out to Japan this season, do you think?
Yeah. So I booked my flights.
So when do you go? How long is it?
I'll go for 3 months this time.
Okay.
I'll leave on the 7th of January, which will be nice because I get a bit of summer here, which will be a bonus. I haven't had a summer in a while. And then 3 months over there and doing the same sort of job, but not necessarily working in-house. I'll be sort of freelance, still doing the same job, but which I think it'll just give me a bit more flexibility to try and bring on some other work. Like I've already secured a brand deal with an Australian snowboard goggle company. They want me to shoot some content for them.
Nice.
So yeah, just trying to look for different opportunities like that. But then also give myself some free time to do these passion projects that I still want to do.
Yeah.
So not looking forward to it. Hopefully we get as much snow as we did last season.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope our season is as good. Well, I was going to say as good as last season. The last couple of seasons here have honestly kind of sucked, to be honest with you. I don't think you've actually missed that much not being here, but yeah, that sounds really exciting. And look, mate, I appreciate you sitting down with me for so long and chatting about all this because, it's definitely
surprising. It's already 2 hours.
I know. Well, yeah, it's the reason I wanted to chat to you was just because I always admire people who have chosen a passion and are truly trying to pursue it. And I guess it's also just I think it's very interesting when you meet people who aren't doing quote unquote the kind of normal traditional 9 to 5 career path, and understanding like the choices behind it. And I think it's very inspirational when people are trying to pursue a passion as opposed to not, I guess, and just kind of falling into the grind of life.
Yeah, I suppose everything in life is somewhat difficult. So you just have to choose which difficulties you can put up with the most.
Yeah. My biggest difficulty when we lived together was our difference in metabolism, as you know, because I won't ever let you forget it, and how mine was significantly slower than yours. So when you're fucking eating all these muffins, and I was like, I can eat these muffins as well. And then I was like, why is Chad not putting on any weight? And I'm like the Michelin man over here.
That's a lie, mate. The amount of crazy shit that you were doing when I was there is no blows
Yeah.
my mind. Man.
I think it's
Going
just I think I've just come to terms with the fact that I can't be, I'm not insinuating you were, but I can't be like lazy. I need to like, if I'm eating that stuff, it's because I need to be uh
yeah, but
fucking running around like a madman, to be honest.
you take that to the extreme. There's not being lazy, and then there's running an ultra marathon, and
Yeah,
there's
that is true.
trying to swim the English Channel, and going for half marathons or marathons in negative 30 degrees.
Yeah, I know. I will. I'll be totally honest with you. I have dialed back on those activities. Like, yeah, I think I'm also kind of realizing how kind of mental that was, and just yeah. I mean, it's the same as you know, with like you put so much time and effort into something. Yeah, I think as much as I enjoy them, I just want to put my time and effort into something else. You know, and I
Yeah,
think I would imagine you have it with photography, where if you have free time, yeah, you probably want to put it into this thing that you're really trying to pursue. And I guess with those things, as much as I enjoyed them, I wasn't necessarily, there wasn't going to be an end goal out of it. Minus me just being fit and healthy and doing these cool challenges, I was a bit like, I'm not really going, I'm never going to be an athlete. Not that that was ever my intention, but now I'm a bit more like, I kind of want to focus. Similar to you. I mean, I am past the 30-year mark, but having something like this podcast and being like, nah, I want to actually put some true time and effort into this and see if it can become anything. But
yeah,
yeah,
nice. I definitely think there's a space for it. I mean, there's obviously a space for podcasting, but I think the title of yours, like Plan to Endure, I think you could really push it to get some cool people on here, not just people like myself kind of talking about our industry, but people that are doing those crazy things in their sports or their fields, or um, especially within those kind of things that you were already doing, like the ultra
yeah,
marathons and the crazy sort of pushing your body to the limit. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of cool people in those fields, and it's, although I would never push myself to that limit, it
yeah.
is inspiring to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. Um, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think it's if Cass and I were actually chatting about this earlier, and it's like, you know, there's also so there's a very obvious thing of like endurance sports where you're physically pushing yourself to be outside of your comfort zone, but there's also that, and I'm not just saying this because you're doing it, but there's also that in creative pursuits. And what I mean by that is like, you know, doing photography like is a very, it's a very personal yet public facing thing. Like you're creating something that you are you like and you think is good, and you're kind of putting it out there to the world and being like, judge me. And there was I was kind of like wanting to relate that to the fact that, you know, that in itself is, I don't know, my mind's kind of escaped the word that I was trying to use, but yeah, I guess you're just also kind of, oh, sorry,
I
my
mean,
brain's,
it is. That's all good. I mean, it is a risk. Like yeah, you are putting yourself out there to be judged by the world and everything like that. But I
oh
don't
yeah,
know.
sorry. Sorry. So I was saying I was talking about the endurance thing is like physically pushing yourself, but this is like pushing your not your mental self, but like how comfortable are you with pushing yourself and putting yourself out there and being like, you know, judge me. You know, that in itself, yeah, while it's not a physically enduring thing, you know, it can be like quite emotionally and mentally pushing, because yeah, you're like, oh, like people might give you negative feedback, they might give you good feedback, but how comfortable are you with sacrificing your kind of self-image to a degree to pursue this thing you want to do, if that
Yeah,
makes
definitely.
sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does, and it's
Thank God, because
you
if that
kind
makes sense when I said it out loud.
it does. You kind of just have to get over that barrier, and it's constantly a mental battle, but sort of getting over that feeling of not wanting to be embarrassed and not wanting to be told that what you're doing is not worth it. But if you put yourself out there and you put in the time and the effort, 90% of the time, I feel like it will pay off. And whether that's paying off sort of to your level or to someone else's level, I don't think it matters to anyone but you. In that sense.
Yeah, and you were saying earlier about how you have days or moments where you're like, I don't know if this is exactly how you phrased it, but my interpretation when you were kind of like, what, like, where, like, is this going anywhere? Like, what am I doing? Like, should I be quote unquote doing the more traditional 9 to 5 thing? And I definitely have that as well. Like the amount of times someone will usually what happens is someone tells me they've listened to a podcast and I'm just like, oh God, man, like, what am I doing? Like, because then immediately I just get the ball rolling in my head of like, what did he think? Yada, yada, yada. But anytime I have those like moments of insecurity, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, am I doing it because I authentically enjoy the thing? Or am I doing it for the, blah, 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 like, for the notoriety or the pats in the back from other people, and I'm obviously not doing it for that. I'm doing it for the authenticity of actually enjoying the thing. And I imagine it's the same for you in photography. Like if you're like, would I do this if no one saw it? But I guess you want to make money from it. But you were like, do I actually enjoy this thing that I'm doing? And if it's a yeah, then I think when you have those insecure moments, for me personally, it makes it easier to push through with it. 'Cause you're like, nah, I'm doing this because I actually like it, not just because I want fucking some random person to look on Instagram and be like, oh, this guy's cool.
Yeah.
But then I do want them to do that, to be fair.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, without it, then you kind of get nowhere. But
yeah, exactly. If no one's looking at the pictures, then not necessarily what's the point, but there is the reality of it. Like if you, as much as you enjoy the process of it, yeah, there's the reality that you need other people to appreciate it so that it becomes something and you can, make that 100K or wherever the goal may be if it changes in time.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that's why it's good to somewhat separate yourself from your work.
And don't get wrapped up in the identity of it, do you mean?
Yeah, and even from your hobbies, like don't make it your entire personality. So it's like you can, if you do feel burnt out or you are struggling with it, like you can take that step back and step away from it for however long you need and regain that sort of that confidence and that spark again and go on. It's definitely a thing with like social media in the creative space. You're constantly pressured to be posting your work or to be doing trends or to be posting on every social media platform and it just gets too much. I reckon maybe once a month I think about deleting all my social media and just disappearing, but then it's like that would hinder my career.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about deleting it all. It's just about putting your phone down and going and touching some grass or doing a physical hobby that's going to get you out of that whatever that mindset you're in.
Yeah, no, I think I had various times. I think I chatted about this in the last podcast I did, or just with that friend when we hung out. But not just having the discipline to be able to turn your phone off or touch it or put it down, like what you were saying about, it's not necessarily about deleting social media, it's about managing your time in it better. And it should be such an easy thing to do, but mate, I don't know about you, I find it so hard. Like I don't have social media apart from for this podcast, and even then I'll fucking an hour later, like, come out of the rabbit hole and be like, holy shit, like, I can't believe I just sat for an hour and just wasted my life. I know it's just discipline. I should literally just be like, put the phone. Oh, mate, I do all the time. I'll go onto Instagram and I'm like, I'm only going on to see if I'll get any messages. And then 30 minutes later, I'm like watching some.
Yeah.
You know what it's like.
I
I'm
haven't
just
even
watching
checked the messages.
I haven't even looked at the messages, no.
Yeah. I know. It is, it's cheap dopamine that just gets you hooked. And, it can be dangerous. And then you kind of, you get into that cycle of comparing yourself and judging everyone else's work and yeah, you compare it all and you always kind of end up at the same conclusion that you're not as good as all these other people out there.
Yeah.
But those people have probably been doing it for 10 years longer than you, or they, yeah, like you don't know what their pathway is and their lifestyle is, and you only see it as it is a highlight reel. People
Yeah.
don't show the negative side of it. Why would you? So you kind of need to just keep that in mind that this is not their entire life that you're comparing it to.
Yeah, there's a guy, Alex Hermos, I think it's Hermosley or Hermosi, and he
Oh yeah,
said that people don't care. So it was something like people want what you have, but they don't want how you
yeah,
got there, or something like that. So they want what you have, but they don't care how you got there, or something like that. And I guess the whole point is they want where you are right now, which is, to these other people is like rich and famous or whatever the thing may be, but they don't want to have to go through what you did to get there, or they don't see that. Sorry, is maybe what he was saying. They don't
yeah.
see the struggle and the
They don't see the struggles. They don't see the sacrifices. They don't see the everything behind the scenes, because why would they? But
yeah,
um, it's you kind of need to then just not compare, but relate that to yourself. It's like, well, okay, well, I'm only here because of the struggles that I've gone through or the sacrifices that I've given up. So it's going to be no different for these people that are ahead of me in that career pathway.
yeah.
So yeah, just try not to compare yourself all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I know that this is a saying, but it's like comparison is the thief of joy. And honestly, dude, I feel like I spent so much of my life by accident comparing to doing exactly that, just comparing my life on Instagram or for friends back home that I know have X, Y, and Z, and I don't have X, Y, and Z. And yeah, it's just so hard not to fall into that trap of doing it and just probably being a bit more grateful and be like, well, I have this stuff that they don't have, and I've had these experiences that they haven't had, and opportunities that they might not have. But it's easy to say that in a rational conversation that and I are having. It's harder to do that when you're looking at their picture on Instagram and you're like, fucking hell, I don't have the thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's
Mm.
why, yeah, it's good just to put the phone down and go and do something outside.
Yeah.
That's the best way I've found, and that's why I love the farm as well, because
Mm.
there's not much service down there, and you just kind of put the phone away and forget about it for a weekend, or go and play with the horses, or fix a dirt bike, or go and light a fire somewhere. I don't know,
Do whatever.
whatever pops into your mind.
Yeah.
Go and allow yourself to be bored. Don't just chase that cheap dopamine.
But that's the thing as well, is like how much can you fuel it of that boredom? Like, what I mean by that is when I've gone through moments of sobriety, like the boredom of not going out on a Friday and a Saturday night has made me be like, okay, I need to fill this time doing something that I actually enjoy. And
Yeah,
I think so.
that's when those ideas start flowing, and you
Yeah, definitely.
come up with some crazy idea. You go and run an ultra marathon, or
Yeah. And then I use technology to distract myself while I'm running. Yeah, no, God, man, that was fucking, yeah.
but yeah, it's I feel like it's always going to be a cycle. Social media is not going anywhere now. The way that our society is going is only going to get sort of more comparing and more judgmental in a way. So it's kind of, you got to force yourself to step out of that cycle.
Yeah.
And I think I think a lot of people are going in the right direction of that, of trying to limit their social media use and trying to just enjoy the little things, and just take life as it comes, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. Like, Well, look, I appreciate you. Honestly, I know I said it already, but I appreciate you sitting and chatting with me for so long.
No worries, man. It's been good. I've
Yeah.
yeah, as I said, I've been listening to some of your podcasts, and it's. I know the people that you've been talking to, but it is interesting to sort of get their insight on things and sort of listen to more of an in-depth talk than you might get with someone face to face. So yeah, no, it's been good. It's been good to
Yeah.
catch up, man.
Yeah. Yeah. You too, mate.